it's Felicity here for Get Your Rock Out with the amazing Tony Martin. For those people who aren't familiar, can you give us a very brief history of yourself?
Don't you know who I am? I've used it. Finally used private joke, guys. I suppose most people know me from being the singer of Black Sabbath. I spanned 10 years of Black Sabbath history, but I've worked with so many artists. I've been on 30 albums with various people, and all kinds of genre of music, from reggae to rock. So it's bound to have met me somewhere along the line.
And so, genre-wise, are you definitely a rock man at heart?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I am and I'm not. I mean, my first likes, if you were in the rock thing. I got into Curved Air and Atomic Rooster, and you won't even know who that is. Look, you just absolutely... Atomic Rooster. And obviously Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, all those kind of things. But I'm a child of the 70s, so like we had not just the rock thing, we had people like The Sweet and Slade, and you've got to know who they are, and bands like that. So we were kind of forced to listen to other kinds of things as well, in a way. And they were focused. They weren't like 100 Black Sabbaths and there weren't 100 Led Zeppelins. They were the only ones. So you had a very focused view of each band, whereas now there's lots of copies and lookalikes and sound-alikes and stuff like that, so it's a bit more difficult to get focused into one thing. But I go from reggae. I mean, I worked with Musical Youth, Past the Dutchie and all that sort of stuff, Dexys Midnight Runners, all sorts of people, pop, rock, cabaret, and now I've just hooked up with an opera singer as well, so I'm as wide as it gets without being fat.
And obviously, you've done obscene amounts in your career, but what was the first gig that you ever played? I
was 7 years old, and I was a guitarist, and I had two backing singers. They were 7 years old as well. And I played at my school. I did a gig at my school at 7 years old.
So you've always been, performing is what you want to do.
Yeah, always that. I guess it's what I wanted to do. But then in those days, Mum and Dad hated the idea of me being a musician, so they did everything to try and stop me from getting into music. Yeah, they allowed me, they tolerated me playing the guitar and doing all the rest of the stuff, but they didn't really want me to get into the business. They no, get a proper job. I did try to get a proper job. I did. I went to college and I got. I did City and Guilds in electronics and mechanics and all sorts of stuff, and I came out with my little certificate. And then got into a band. So I kind of did it anyway.
Brilliant. And you're here with Headless Cross now.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
So tell us everything there is to know about that.
Tony Martin's Headless Cross is it's a kind of new lineup on an old theme. I had a band called the Tony Martin Band about 5 years ago, and we tried to, get that around the world, and it wasn't really working. We found that promoters were flying me out to various places like South America and then using local musicians, and they were pretty competent musicians, but it's not your band, and the fans know it's not your band, and you don't know where they're going to stand on the stage. You don't know if you're going to get a face full of machine heads or what it's going to be like. So I kind of stopped touring because it was just tedious, and I wanted to use the guys that I had in my band, and it was getting really hard work, so I stopped touring. Now I've reformed a lineup with Jeff Nichols, who's an old buddy from Black Sabbath. He's the keyboard player of Black Sabbath. He's one of my best friends. Love Jeff, just so cool. Danny Needham on drums, who has been my drummer for a while, but he's currently working with Venom. And why did you go all wet and loose then when I said that?
You can't say that.
Yes, I can.
For the record, I was
she's going, oh my God. And then on bass, I got Magnus Rosen, who used to be with a band called Hammerfall, Swedish band. And And guitar, I got Dario Mollo, I've worked with him for some years on a project called The Cage. We've just had a Cage album released about 2 months ago, the third Cage. So he's on guitar, so that's really quite exciting. And together, it looks like a really quite formidable band. We have to wait and find out. This is the first gig and the only gig that we've got coming up. It's the first time I've played in my own country, even as a solo artist.
And so why just the one-off? Why not a full tour?
This was kind of dumped on us in a way. We had a festival show on the East Coast in a place called Felixstowe. And the promoter took on far too much that he could handle, dropped the ball and cancelled the whole thing. But by then I'd already arranged with these guys to come and do the gig. So I had to find another venue pretty quick. And I spoke to a friend of mine who runs the Asylum venue in Birmingham, which is Roy. He's actually the bass player in a band called Shy. You heard of Shy? And he said, come on, mate, let's go and see if we can sort something out. So we sat down and talked about it. He said, I think we can do this. So we arranged it for the Asylum, and we managed to replace the date. But we didn't have anything planned because the other guys in the band have got all their own commitments for the rest of the year. So it really is a one-off event. And so it's a special event in many ways, not just it's the first time that I've played in my own country as a solo artist.
And so what can people expect from the show?
17 songs from 10 different albums. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but the songs are all songs that I've been responsible for in one way or another. Either the lyrics, the melodies, or both, or some writing, or total writing, whatever it is. A large proportion of it has to be the Sabbath era. I mean, I've done so much work with them, so I would imagine 70% of the show is going to be Sabbath-based, which I'm happy to do, and I think those songs deserve to be out there. But the other 30% is going to be made up of other projects and albums that I've been on, covering my career, really.
So going back to the Sabbath days, I mean, that must have just been absolutely exceptional in some ways and terrible in others. Do you have fond memories of it, or do you look back and think, I wish I'd never got involved?
That's quite an interesting question. It was... Okay, if you go back to the very beginning when I first got into the band, I was a complete rookie. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, they took me out of a band called The Alliance, and we had a deal with Warner Brothers at the time, but we weren't doing much. And so when they sort of put me in front of Sabbath, I was absolutely, completely inexperienced. I mean, they took me out of a local Birmingham band and stuck me in front of one of the most famous names on the planet. So I don't know what they was expecting, but I did the best I could. And that kind of chased me, that followed me all pretty much through the years I was with Sabbath. Also, they're 10 years older than me, so our friends' circles weren't the same. Our circle of friends didn't sort of mix. So it was a little bit distant and a little bit cold sometimes, but we were friendly, but I can't say that we were best buddies. But we worked pretty good, I thought, and I managed to get the band into a sort of position from being actually quite low. It was difficult for people to work with them at the time. There was kind of having jokes made about them because they had so many singers and different people in the lineup and all the rest of the stuff. And then they took me on, a complete rookie from a small band in Birmingham, so it just about got as low for them as it could get. But we built it up, and I thought we were doing pretty good. So it was scary and it was exciting all at the same time, really. It was a very weird set of emotions to be in the band.
And looking back on it now, is there anything that you'd change about it?
I don't think I could have, because I was so inexperienced and so distant from them. I don't know what else I could have done, really. I mean, I would have loved to have just stepped into, those shoes and made it fly. I would have loved to have done that, but we had to work at it. And we did work at it. I mean, I put, as much effort into it as I could. And we did. We got 5 great studio albums out of it. I mean, the first one was already written by the time I got there. But we did work at it, and they kept calling me back. I mean, the first call I got for Black Sabbath was when Glenn Hughes was in the band. That's at the Seventh Star album, and I was put on hold because I was having problems with Glenn, and then they managed to fix that. And then the next call I got from Sabbath was when Ray Gillan disappeared, and they needed a singer. And then I got the audition and I got the job. And then the next time they called me was when they did that thing with Ronnie Dio, the dehumanizer thing. And then they've called me 3 or 4 times to get me back. And they keep calling, well, they did. They haven't spoken to me for 15 years, but they did. They kept calling me back and asking me to sort of come back and try again. So if they were, happy enough to keep asking me to go there, I must have been doing something right. But then they deleted me from the history of the band. So.
And why? I mean, did you have a huge falling out?
No.
Did you?
No, the phone just stopped ringing. And
so you honestly can't think of any reason for them to have done it?
They obviously didn't rate me as good enough to be in the band, and I don't know why that would be. Like I said, I did the best I could at the time. But no, the phone stopped ringing. My manager called me and said, "Sorry, kid, they don't want your services anymore." And I was like, "Well, okay." Well, the first time they did that was a big shock, because I was actually walking out the door to go to rehearsals when the first time that happened, and nobody told me. So I was like, couldn't they have just sort of called me up or something, and sort of said something about it? But they're the sort of people, they don't talk to your face, and it's always been that way. You have to read between the lines pretty much with Sabbath, and you hear from somebody else, and then you wait for the phone call. So, bearing that in mind, I think they're just those kind of people that have never really had to talk to anybody face to face. They've always got people that do that for them. So, I don't know. But me, I'm sort of straight, and if there's something wrong, you have to tell me. If I can fix it, I'll fix it. If I can't fix it, we'll find another way around it. You know what I mean? It's like that's the way it goes with me. But there you go. They haven't spoken to me 15 years. I spoke to Iommi very briefly on a festival thing that we were both at in Russia, in Moscow. And I had the Tony Martin band, as it was then. And he was on the side of the stage. We did Headless Cross, and fantastic, good job, Tone. So, he has seen me out there doing my solo thing, but that was the only contact I've had with them.
Do you miss them as people?
I would like to miss them as people. I thought that we got on pretty well. As I said, nobody said anything to my face, and every time I was with them, they sort of said, "Great job, good, cool," So I had no reason to believe that it was doing anything really that bad. But when you're not in their company, then they just don't speak. So I don't know.
Mad.
It is mad, and I don't quite get it. And the thing of cutting me out of, and I don't quite understand it. But they delete me, or they don't talk about me for those 10 years of that history. But it's not just cutting me out of 10 years of the history. They're cutting themselves out of 10 years of the history of the band. So it doesn't quite make sense. And I don't know. You could call it insecurity or immature. I don't know what it is. I can't even think of a word for it. But for some reason, they don't want to talk about me as being part of the band's history. So, and they've deleted all the albums from sale. It used to hurt, but I'm kind of past that now, and I just get on with stuff now. Just do what I gotta do.
And while you were with them, did you ever find yourself turning into a bit of a diva?
No, it was difficult for me. Again, like I said, I was completely inexperienced, and I had no idea what I was doing, really. So you kind of, you might as well made me Prime Minister, because, and so you do what you think is the right thing at the time, until somebody says, you don't really want to do that, or you don't really want to say that, something which nobody ever did. And you just got to sort of keep doing what you think is the right thing to do. So I just got on with it and did the best I could, really.
And so, looking back over your entire musical career, what stands out as, an all-time favourite memory?
There's so many, though. It is, in my case, because I've worked with so many different people. Doing my first solo album was quite exciting, as long as that lasted. and working with Brian May, going to his house and having him record, guitar on the album was quite special. But I was just saying earlier this morning about a special, really special moment. It's when I was able to get the first recorded album from Black Sabbath and show my kids. That, how cool is that? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So that's cool. But there was no real great long period of fantastic moments, and there was no great long period of really crap moments. There was like a great little moment, and followed by a shit moment, and then another great moment, and then another shit moment. So it went like that, really.
And for your UK show, you've got Bayley supporting.
Oh yeah.
Why choose Blaze?
It was suggested to me. And then Blaze got in touch and he says, "You do realise we've worked together before?" And I went, "We have?" "Oh." And he says, "Don't you remember?" I went, "Yes." "You don't remember, do you?" I went, "No." And apparently he was in Wolfsbane and he supported the band I was in before, Black Sabbath Alliance. Well, I just can't remember it. I did apologise at the time, and everybody I've spoken to says, Blaze is a great bloke, and I believe them. I have no reason to think otherwise. I just can't remember that event. And then somebody, was it 2 days ago or something, posted on my Facebook site a photo of me and Blaze together singing on a stage in a nightclub in the centre of Birmingham. And I went, "Oh no! I have actually met him before and done something, and I can't remember." And I think what it was a birthday party of a local DJ. Yeah. And we got up and sang something like "All Right Now" by Free or something like that. So I have a bit of grovelling to do to Blaze when I see him, but everybody I've spoken to says, he's very exciting and a great artist. And
it's a very good line.
It's,
very good.
And I'm looking forward to hooking up with him and doing something like that. And he's doing something quite special for us on this occasion, which is an unplugged acoustic set. So I'm looking forward to hearing what that's going to be like. It's great. It's a really good contrast, I think, to the show that we're going to do.
And so when it comes to kind of bands around on the scene at the moment, have you got any that you've really stood out to you that you think these are really ones to watch?
All of them in some way. I mean, I don't have TV in my house by choice. I can't be bothered with it, but everything is radio. I'm listening to the radio all the time and always flicking between the channels on radio. And I listen to everything. And I'll enjoy everything until they do something that I don't like or they get boring. So I can go through everything from like Foo Fighters, Radiohead, through classic rock, right down through opera and into classical music. And I really do enjoy listening to the whole thing. So I'm a very open-minded musician and a listener of music. It all excites me, and I'm always listening out for the way people do stuff. And my lady often, she's looking at me, she's staring at me going, "You're analysing that, aren't you? You're thinking how they played that." And I'm going, "Ooh, sorry." Because I do, I'm sitting there going, "That's clever, that's really good." So I get busted from time to time. Instead of listening to the song, sometimes I'm actually analysing what they're doing. But I do listen to everything, so... And until they get monotonous, if they come up with the fourth song that sounds identical, then go, click, But I do listen to everything.
And so the next kind of 12 months or so, what can we expect from you apart from obviously this one-off show?
Well,
Rumour has it you're involved in quite a few other things.
I am, and that is me. I mean, traditionally I am a quite varied, open musician, and I'm feeling excited at the moment, quite positive that I've got so many other things going on. One of them immediately. Okay, so we've just released the Cage album, and there's another artist that I work with, associated kind of with the Cage studio, which is Aldo Giuntini. That should be coming out soon. Also, I'm currently involved with an Italian band called Silver Horses, and that's a blues kind of stroke Zeppelin type sounding English band, and I'm just in love with it. I just think it's amazing. It's the first time that I've ever really got my voice around the blues thing. I did try it once before with the White Snake guys, Bernie Marsden and Mickey Moody, and the M3 thing, but I didn't get hold of that very well, and I didn't really handle that too well. But my voice, I kept feeling that my voice didn't suit blues or that style. And then I got the opportunity to work with Silver Horses, and then I had the opportunity to write the melodies myself. And then that made a whole different scenario then, and I really, really got into it. So I'm really looking forward to working with them. The album's all finished, the artwork's done, and I think it's released end of September, something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. I've also hooked up with an opera singer in Italy, and she's just one of the most amazing voices I've heard. I've seen her live, and she sings at least 1 meter away from the microphone and melts it from like that distance. I'm just really impressed with her. And she's asked me to help write an album as a duet with duets on it. So you can imagine the power voice and an opera voice would be quite interesting. Yeah. I'm thoroughly excited by that. What else is there? Oh, there's a couple of things going on, which there's an American guy called Scott McClellan, and he is one of the thrashiest metal guitarists I've ever heard. And he's absolutely insane. I mean, he can write riffs, just keeps ploughing them out, and just unbelievable. I'm quite excited to work with him also, because my melodic rock melodies over his thrashy guitar playing is working out. The few demos that we've done is working out really interesting, so I'd love to do that. And then I've got solo albums and stuff that I want to do. I mean, you're wishing you hadn't asked this question, aren't you? Hurry up, I'm getting tired. So, there's lots and lots of stuff to go on. And, the Tony Martin related stuff, there's quite a fair bit coming out, or, should be coming out in the next year or so. Okay, you can breathe. She's gone.
Honestly, you're so rude. People are going to have such an awful opinion of me from this. The comments you've made about me, it's terrible. Thank you very much for that. So where's the best place to kind of keep up with everything you related?
I'm a bit of a Facebook demon. If you see me on Facebook, I'm always nattering away in there. In fact, it's hard to shut me up, as you probably gathered.
Really? You surprise me.
Talk about back legs off a donkey. Usually the Facebook thing is where a lot of my news and stuff gets posted. I don't do Twitter.
Oh, I know.
Do you get Twitter? I don't know. Twitter is not my thing.
It just makes no logical sense.
It's like I am going to the toilet, or something. I am getting on the bus. I don't give a shit.
Well, you would if you were going to the toilet.
Exactly. Yes, I think you probably would, but I don't do that. But and we're building a website at the minute, which is one of the first for quite some time. I've had various websites, and they've been run outside the country, and I've not really had any control over them. Some of them have been half decent, but it's time to do my own. So we're just working on that now. So word of mouth and Facebook is generally at the moment where you'll get the information, and people like yourself, of course.
I don't know, you've called me terrible.
Drove all this way to see the weather outside. You can't see the weather outside, but it's like horizontal rain. As Sue said, it's biblical. No, Helen said it's biblical. So people like yourself coming down and talking about it, which is fantastic. I mean, thank you for your support for that. And various magazines and stuff which, are covering this new show that's coming out.
Brilliant. Well, obviously, can't wait to actually see you live.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out.
It's a pleasure. A pleasure.
You've been wonderful, honestly.
Richard says that. Especially if it's venom.
I don't know.
She's all wet and sloppy.
I'm not wet and... But that
You've gone red now as well. Look at that. She's gone all red.
It's been a long time since I blushed in an interview, but thank you for that.
Yes.
But thank you, and we will look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.